Whoa, that is bright. What is going on, guys? All right, so we had GDP come out. GDP numbers came out negative. As I told you guys before, the Atlanta Fed has never projected a negative GDP that has come out positive. So it wasn't quite negative 2.7%, but negative 0.3%. And then we had a second day in a row of bad jobs numbers. So the jobs numbers came out 62,000 ADP non-farm employment change versus 114,000 jobs expected. And yesterday we had the JOLTS job opening, 7.19 million openings, but it was expected there would be around 7.5 million openings. So second day in a row of bad jobs numbers, negative GDP print. This is going to be, depending on what PCE inflation, which comes out in 28 minutes, depending on what core PCE comes out as, the Fed is going to have quite a bit of decision-making on their hands to do. Why is it asking me to log in again? 1 second. Don't want you guys to see my password. All right. Ark, appreciate your donation to St. Jude. Thank you so much. Tommy Luck, David Morgan. Wow, early. Guys, hit that like button so that other people find this stream. This is potentially setting up for a long here. We have major SMT. I wonder if it's easier. God, it makes my screen a lot smaller. I hate doing this. But, all right. I really don't like doing that. But if you look at the daily chart, or maybe the 4 hours easier to see, you could see that Monday's low right there. There is a higher low on ES and a lower low on NQ. This so far is bullish divergence. We took out the weekly low. There is a potential for more liquidity into this 4-hour fair value gap. I still have not yet taken a big short here. We have Microsoft and Meta earnings coming up after the bell. We have Amazon and Apple tomorrow. So I'm not quite sold yet on a major short until we take the level that I'm looking for is for at least one of the indices to take this high. And this high right here is the Liberation Day high. That was the day that the tariffs were announced. So that to me looks like a draw on liquidity that one of the indices will hit at least. Maybe NQ hits it first because it is higher, much stronger for NQ. But NQ might hit it while ES leaves it behind, and that would create bearish divergence, and I will likely take a nice size short position from there. But I'm not yet short here, if I'm honest. And we do have news coming out in 25 minutes. So let me see if I can increase the gain on this microphone. 1 second. All right, so With that said, we do have bullish divergence. There is a chance to dump a little bit more into that fair value gap where one of them will take out Friday's low to do so, and the other one won't, hopefully leaving behind divergence. But let's see here. We did have a little bit of a fake out right there on ES, where it broke structure, but NQ didn't. So I do think this is potentially setting up for a long. But like I said, it's either we took Monday's low and left SMT, or we're going to take Friday's low and leave SMT. But right now, NASDAQ is down 2%, S&P down 1.5%. VIX is up almost 10%. So I don't think we're out of the woods just yet. Everybody and their mother is looking at 50-day and 200, which is very close, but seems like the market doesn't want to pump all the way up there. Bro, we had GDP news. And the market pumped for 6 days straight, going up 7% in 6 days. What do you mean the market doesn't want to pump? The market goes up 6 days in a row. And then on one of the biggest news days of the year, we get a retracement back down to major liquidity. That doesn't mean the market doesn't want to pump. That means we are repricing a little bit of the 7% that we went up in 6 days. We're repricing that back down to grab more liquidity. That's all that means. You can see all these imbalances here. All right, so the likely scenario before PCE now, since ES did take out Monday's low, is Friday's low into this fair value gap. You think we will have a double bottom? On what time frame? What are we talking about? Good morning, Sonar. What's going on? NQ just took Friday's low. Yeah, right now. ES didn't. So ES is on the left, NQ is on the right. Which earnings would you play, Hood or Meta, if you're willing to take a risk? I don't trade earnings like that. The market is not your playground. If you want to gamble, just go to Vegas. Otherwise, use the market to execute your trading plan. Not just try cute shit. Would you long gold now? Let me look at gold, actually. That's a good question. What the hell? Gold is just hovering in this daily fair value gap here. Yeah, this was a nice play here. If you were trading at 830, this right here is called the unicorn. You have a breaker right there, and you have a fair value gap here. This is a very, very nice. Would have been a very nice long. I think there is a potential continuation, but there isn't a trade here. We're too far in a premium. If we somehow go back to discount, which I don't think is likely right now, then yeah, I might consider a long. But we do have news at 10. What was your question, Smirnov? There was a huge gap from the 22nd. Yeah, this gap will likely eventually get filled. So my plan, which I'm not the end-all be-all, so it could definitely be wrong, but my plan was to initiate a short on the indices when we take that Liberation Day high. I also had a long trade on Google that is close to, it's sitting at the trend line. Close to my stop, but not yet stopped. But I'm currently down on that. So we popped out of the trend line, came back to retest it. The setup is still valid, but certainly still down on this play. But it's still valid, so I have to hold on to it. And I'll wait to see what the indices do at $10 a.m. Who are the bots talking about gold 2 minutes in? They're not bots. They're mostly Indian traders. They're obsessed with gold for some reason. And for some reason, they like this channel. Even though I never talk about the Indian stock market. I'm sure there are like amazing Indian stock YouTubers. But yeah. So anytime you see the words "hello, sir," it's likely someone from India. Is Peter Navarro on TV? Oh, wait a minute.
And then they use it for heroin, speed, ecstasy. They're putting it in counterfeit drugs like Xanax and Valium now. People Yeah, everyone has your little PDAs there, as they used to call them. It's like China's trying to hack those. They're trying to get our money, trying to get our identities. They steal our intellectual property, and they try to control every key critical industry in the world. So all of that's happening, and that's what we're trying to protect ourselves against, and by definition, the rest of the world.
But what do you do if you're a company like Apple, which was part of this fabric that we put together, which was post-1972, or World Trade Organization, where we wanted to do trade. We have a lot of companies that are there. I feel like our great companies are being discriminated against. I also feel that same thing in Vietnam, where you have companies that left China. I know there's bad transshipments from Vietnam, but when are we going to start favoring great American companies and let the other guys feel the hurt?
Well, here's what I can tell every company in the world, including our great American companies. If you're coming here and investing here in Trump land, you will have the most rapid regulatory approvals you've ever seen in modern American history to get stuff done. You're going to have amazing tax breaks for investing here, not just equipment, but in terms of buildings. And you're going to have a tariff wall to protect you from unfair competition. And because companies already understand that, Jim, that's why we've seen a commitment for over $5 trillion of investment. Apple should have been doing this years ago. They've played a strategy in China. You know, we're too big in China to fail, so please go easy on us. And they played that game now to the point where they really know that they have to move, and they will be able to do that. There's going to be a wonderful way to do that. They need to come here. They've pledged their investment. But it's going to be as hard as it might be for Apple. It's very doable. It's going to be easy for other companies around the world to come here. And by the way, the auto parts thing yesterday that the president signed was brilliant. I mean, if you look kind of beneath that, it shows the tactical flexibility of our policy, our responsiveness to a short-term problem in the auto industry with respect to the cost of parts. And it's all set up, and I have to credit Howard Lutnick for the architecture of this, for creating yet another incentive for auto companies to assemble here with American parts. And so that puts us at advantage to the rest of the world with respect to assembly.
All right, so I'm going to wait till I don't want to hear this guy talk. I don't care what he says, but we're going to wait until Core PCE is announced in 10 minutes. I wonder if the VIX gets back above this level here. I typically don't like to do technical analysis on the VIX, but I wonder if it breaks, if we get into this gap and it breaks above. The reason that I personally don't think that today's drop is going to continue on is a couple of reasons. One, we still have a lot of data left, right? And negative GDP was kind of expected. We still have a lot of data left. We have 4 of the 7 Mag 7 earnings reporting in the next 2 days. And on top of that, the market went up for 6 days in a row. So if we just take a look at the SPY, right? The SPY went up 6 days in a row, 7%. So to me, this is just a retracement. Now, there could be a plausible scenario in which the Liberation Day gap, which I talked about in my videos at the 300 MA, there could be a scenario where that is where price stops before retesting lower for sure. But you can see QQQ stronger than the SPY. And we closed above the Liberation Day gap, retraced into this fair value gap. And I want to see, before I take a big position short, I want to see us get to the Liberation Day high and take out that high. Now, that may be, too conservative maybe, but with the Mag 7 earnings coming out and we still have the unemployment rate on Friday, there's still quite a bit of data here that I don't want to get caught in a short, if that makes sense. Plus, that data right now, the VIX is up 11%. If you were in a short before today, that volatility likely helped your short really nicely today if you were short-term short. But after all that data is released, volatility will likely go down as long as the market doesn't tank due to that data. And I think we'll be able to open up another short soon. Now, there is a dangerous scenario, to be honest, where if the Mag 7 earnings, if they report, if one of them misses, which is highly unlikely, but if one of them misses, like a Meta or Microsoft or Apple or Amazon, then I think that could spell disaster for sure. Now, a lot of those companies do not report guidance. So Apple famously doesn't report guidance. And I think Amazon reports guidance. I don't know. And Microsoft, I think, reports guidance. And I think Meta does. I have to go back and look. I can't remember exactly who does and doesn't. But for sure, Apple doesn't. So it'll be interesting to see what the perspective is on guidance as well. I want to see if there's a long on gold here. Don't get caught with your pants down? What the hell does that mean, bro? Figuring out money. What's going on, bro? We got to get a stream together. There may be a continuation long on gold here. Actually, this is kind of a precarious, this would be a precarious long here. We took out those equal highs on the hourly. Gold is kind of in an ugly pattern because we're just chopping around in this daily imbalance here, and we haven't really seen a structural break to either side since the 22nd of April, right? So we have been chopping around in here. This is typically a situation where it's hard to take broad trades here. And we do have data coming out in 5 minutes. So I'm actually not going to long this here, as we just swept that area of liquidity, these equal highs here. And depending on what the data comes out, let me see what the dollar is doing. Yeah, dude, yeah, for sure. Would love to collab, bro. Would love to collab. Guys, leave a thumbs up if you want me and Figuring Out Money, one of the only channels that I think does a honest and solid job in this space. Leave a thumbs up if you guys want us to collab. GC swept London high. Yeah, you're right. I'm just looking at what the dollar, how the dollar's behaving here. So while gold was chopping around, the dollar is kind of choppy as well, heading higher, but it definitely is stair-stepping all week. So I cannot long gold here just yet. I actually think after sweeping that liquidity for today, if we get a structure break, there could definitely be a short. We got midnight and 9:30 right there as well. This line right here that it's testing is midnight and 9:30. So if we break below that and retest, I think that's good for a short. Otherwise, I don't see a play, an optimal play on gold yet. I cannot long this either. Not from here. How's Meta earnings? Bro, you think I have a time machine or what? How the F would I know how's Meta earnings? All right, PCE's coming out in 1 minute.
Good Wednesday morning and welcome back to Squawk on the Street. I'm Sarah Eisen with Carl Quintanilla and David Faber, live as always from Post 9 of the New York Stock Exchange. Stocks are under pressure this morning. We do have some weaker data, which we'll talk about. GDP, ADP. We'll get PCE in a moment. The S&P 500 giving back 2.25% after a string of gains here. NASDAQ down 2.8%, so it's getting hit hard. Take a look at Treasuries as we await even more economic data on a data-heavy week ahead of the Fed next week. And as we digest that negative GDP number, we'll show you what bonds are doing in just a moment. But Dow's down about 714 points as we speak. We're 30 minutes here into the trading session. Here are, there it is. There's the Treasury. I was going to show you that they're buying bonds. Yields are lower, except for on the long end. Three big movers that we're watching. Super micro shares plunging after issuing weak preliminary guidance as they point to, quote, delayed customer decisions. Shares now nearly 75% off their all-time high seen last March. Number of consumer food and beverage names on the move after results out of Starbucks, Mondelez, Yum Brands, Newell Brands, and more. Starbucks the biggest loser after an earnings and revenue miss. And results out of two Dow components as well this morning. Caterpillar reports lower sales driven by weak volumes and pricing. Cat issuing two outlook scenarios, one with and one without tariff impacts. While Visa beat estimates on, quote, resilient consumer spending. So some mixed messages there.
Big morning data and even more crossing the tape. Let's get back to Rick Santelli. Hey, Rick.
Right now.
Yes, Carl, indeed. Now, there's a lot of components here, so I'm going to go slow. Personal income and spending for March, income up a bit better than expected, up 0.5%. And last month's powerful up 0.8 gets downgraded, but only by 0.1. So 0.7, nice back-to-back numbers. On the spending side, also better than expected, up 0.7. And in the rearview mirror, an upgrade from 0.4 to up 0.5% on spending. Real spending adjusted for inflation, up 0.7, up 0.7. That's the best number since Jan of 23. Now let's get into it. PCE, month over month, unchanged as expected. In the rearview mirror, we do pop from 0.3 to up 0.4, which makes zero look maybe that much better. Now, if we look at PCE year over year, up 2.3, that's just a smidge warmer than expected, but last month's 2.5 moved up to 2.7, now down to 2.3. That is indeed good news. Now, if we look at the month over month on the core PCE, that was expected to be up 0.1 to 0.2. It is unchanged. We pop 0.1 in the rearview mirror from up 0.4 to up 0.5. And finally, the number 7 component, maybe the most important on the inflation front, PCE core year over year. Last month, it was 2.8. That moved up to 3%. New reading, 2.6, exactly as expected. That would be the lowest reading going all the way back to, believe it or not, March of 21. Now, it doesn't end there. Let's quickly look at home sales from a pending home sales perspective. This is the month of March. 6.1% on pending home sales month over month. That is a powerful number, much stronger than expected. The best since Dece of 23. And finally, that's month over month. Let's take a year over year perspective. Down 0.1. Now, that doesn't sound good, but believe it or not, that's still the strongest number since Nova of last year. We've had some big negative numbers. Interest rates have had a lot of movement today, but maybe the most important thing is with GDP, when those big inflation numbers hit, rates popped up. As equity started to show a lot of red, interest rates were very responsive, and you turned a bit lower. Sarah, back to you.
Okay, thank you very much. With all that data, Rick Santelli. At the GDP number, because Rick mentioned it, and that'll get a lot of attention, coming in at negative 0.3%, worse than the negative 0.2. You see a negative number. You say, what's going on with the economy? The truth is, and I know Peter Navarro talked about this as well, there are some unique factors that are not as worrisome that subtracted for growth. For instance, exports were the big drag on growth because of all the front loading ahead of the tariffs. And so that subtracted, a few percentage points there. Obviously, that's not necessarily going to be repeatable and not some sort of sign of underlying demand because it happened as everyone was trying to export ahead of the tariffs. The other big factor that dragged on growth was government spending. And this is something the administration has wanted to see, growth away from the private, into the private sector, away from the public sector. So we did get that drag on growth from government spending. If you look at the sort of underlying economy and what we learned about the consumer, which is the most important part of the economy, not bad, 1.8% growth. It was still weaker than it's been, but better than economists had forecast. Another gauge of underlying demand showed some growth because of business equipment purchases. Those were the fastest since 2020. So overall, you can extrapolate that we're coming from a weaker spot as we go into the impact of tariffs. But a lot of it is, of course, these sort of one-off factors. As far as ADP, private sector jobs, that was weaker than expected, 62,000. Government jobs on Friday is going to be more important on that front. And as Rick said, it was the PCE deflator, which comes out in that quarterly GDP number, which I think surprised people, which was a little bit elevated and higher, about having to worry again about this stagflation thing. Remember, it's a bad combo, stagflation, slower growth, higher inflation. I think we need more evidence. You know, this first quarter was a little funky, but that's a market worry, David, on top of a market that's been pretty resilient in the last few sessions.
It certainly has. Is there a way to normalize sort of what exports and imports would have been otherwise?
Not really.
I mean, it's hard to do, right?
Oh, there's a routing issue. My bad, guys. My bad. I said up 12. My bad. I'm sorry, guys. Up 1,200. I have a new sound card, but want to see gold get rejected from here. Up 1,300 on gold, guys. This is a very stubborn level. Yeah, I shorted gold a couple times. And what I'm looking for is a break below this order block here. We're wicking below it, but we are not. We're not closing below it. So I took a short from here down to below this. We swept this liquidity. And now I'm looking to see if we have another confirmed short. But if let me remove this real quick. We are not closing below that 5-minute order block. And if we close above this, then shorts are off the table for gold. And I'll just take this $900 for now. You can't hear me? Let me look at the indices real quick. In terms of the news that just came out, we had Core PCE come out, and it came out unchanged. So it actually came out less than expected. 0% Core PCE versus 0.1%. I think this is, honestly, if unemployment claims come out more than expected tomorrow, and the unemployment rate comes out higher than 4.2% on Friday, I think there's a very high chance the Fed cuts or does something next week for sure, especially because Core PCE came in lower than expected at 0%. All right, let me see if there's a reversal in play here on NASDAQ or S&P. S&P much weaker than the NASDAQ here. S&P much weaker than the NASDAQ here. NASDAQ can still close above this 5-minute fair value gap. So first trade of the day successful on gold. Took a short on gold. This looks like a short on the indices, but we're so low that. Oh, that looks like a short on the indices, but we're so low that I can't short in a discount here. And I'm waiting to see if we get a close above that on NASDAQ. We still didn't close below that order block on gold. In order for me to short gold again, we need to get below 33.12 and close below 33.12. I went short yesterday and up 57%. Do you think I should hold through earnings? I think that you asking a random person on the internet, I think opening a position and then asking what you should do about it is a horrible way to go about trading. Nobody will tell you that or be real with you. People think that I'm being mean. I'm just trying to shorten your path to success. And I think one of the dumbest things you could do is open up a position and then ask what you should do with it. You can ask before you open a position, perfectly fine. But am I out of my Google calls? No, dude. Why would I be out of my... Look, we're still on the trend line. I can't be out of my play if the play is still valid. Why would I get out? Good morning, Sarah. What's going on? Welcome. First time on the channel. Nothing I say here is serious. Except for the trades that I take. Do you think it's a good idea to open position on E-mini Dow futures? Guys, come on, bro. Open a position? Like what position? Long, short? Come on, guys. I'm not a fan of Nike here. I actually sold my Nike. It's because the calls are red and people are scared. Well, you're going to have to get used to the markets. Yeah. Okay. I'm down on my Google calls. Yeah. So what? That's trading. You're supposed to be green the minute that you enter a trade. This is not the game for you then. I would not short anything here. I think if you were going to short, you should have shorted already. You don't want to short at a discount. What's the expiration date on my Google calls? A month. May 28 or May, what is that? May 30th. Okay. Gold delivered some nice price action today. We took a short on gold. Up a quick 1,000 in the market. I would not short here gold again. We closed above that fair value gap. Gold looks like it's setting up for a potential long. We could not get a close below this order block. It is not bearish. Looks like it might be setting up for a long, but right now gotta be patient. Anonymous, bro, you're fucking funny, dude. You're fucking funny, bro. What are your top 3 favorite stocks right now? A homeboy's asking me, like, he's asking me what are my top 3 favorite rappers. Bro, this is not a game show. Just, there is no top 3 stocks. Just get a spreadsheet, right? Find some evaluation metrics. So, PE ratio, forward PE, price to cash flow to market cap, and just get some metrics, and then the historical levels for that stock, right? Like, say you're looking at Amazon or Google, and just start doing some research and putting in the work and seeing whether the stock that you're looking at is undervalued based on that stock relative to where it was, right? And list of reasons why you like the brand, why you like the stock, what you think their future holds in terms of their product offerings. So, for instance, Google would be I think Google's Waymo brand is currently not even priced into the stock, even though they are increasing rides every week. And I think they're doing 500,000 rides a week now, expanding into city after city, right? But that is not even a part of their valuation at the moment. So that can be an example. Obviously, Google Gemini is an example. If you're looking at Tesla, you can point to Optimus or Robotaxi. So make sure that the company is doing something in the future that you think is valuable as well. And just create a spreadsheet and be ready to pull the trigger when those stocks hit your price levels. That's it. There is no there's no top 3 or whatever. He doesn't answer. Jay, you literally bought puts and you said, what do I do now? Make a decision. And you make a decision and then write down the decision you made and why. And then go back and look at the trade retrospectively and see whether you liked your decision or you didn't. Write down why. And then take that to the next trade. And that's the only way you'll learn. Buying options and then asking random people on the internet what you should do. What are you even doing this for? If you're just trying to gamble, yeah, you can use the market to gamble, and that's your prerogative. But if you're coming here asking me for trading advice, I'm giving you advice after years of failure and then years of success after that, and telling you what actually works. I'm not roasting anybody. I'm being 100% real with you. I'm being 100% real with you. So make a decision. Don't rely on me to tell you what to do with options that you decided to buy. Write down the trade, why you made the decision, why you got in, why you got out. And then when you decide to open up another trade, revisit that. Do the same exact thing for the next trade and the next trade and the next trade. And that's how you get better. And if nobody's told you that before, that's because either they don't know what they're talking about or they're trying to sell you a dream. That's it. I think there's a long here, guys. I would not be surprised if if this is one big power of 3 and the market recovered today. The one thing I'm waiting for, sorry if I didn't verbalize it, but I'm waiting to see if the S&P can close above this 5-minute fair value gap. You could see that on the lower time frames, we broke structure on NQ. But we're not out of the woods until ES closes above this. But you can see on the 3-minute, we broke structure. I'm long NQ. Khosrow, I actually don't think that's a bad play, bro. It is a bit of a front run, but I don't think that's a bad play at all. I think long is more lucrative than short here for sure. Why are you reading my name? That's a good point. That's a good point about the blender and the options. We're not out of the woods yet. I need ES to get above this, but we are definitely in a high time frame objective here. That's a 4-hour fair value gap. And if I'm not mistaken, we do have slight SMT here. NQ made a lower low. ES made a higher low right there. We're still in the 15-minute fair value gap that NQ is handling very comfortably, but ES is not. So you can see ES here. This can still get rejected. If you were already long NQ, like a turtle soup type entry from down here, yeah, you're doing really well here. There was an aggressive entry for sure. If you took like an inverted fair value gap entry here. Like I told Khosrow, I mean, it's a front run, but I think the risk reward is nice. So just because it's a front run doesn't mean it's a bad trade. If your risk is low and your reward is high, and the setup is there, I really don't mind front runs from time to time. The data high, that is a good marker for sure. But I think we're past the data high. It depends on what data you're talking about. So this here is data high. But remember, we had 10 a.m. data as well. And we're above that. One other thing you want to look at is the RTH gap. So if you look here, this is probably a draw as well, right? So this is the regular trading hours gap between 4 p.m. yesterday and market open today. So I think that depending on how many contracts you have and what objectives you're trading, right? Like if you're trading prop and you have certain goals that you have to hit, yeah, of course you want to take your profits. If you're already at 2-to-1, 3-to-1, you want to secure those profits. But if you have multiple contracts and your goals are kind of open-ended, I think that you can, if ES confirms a close above that 5-minute and 15-minute, I think you can trade with an objective to get up this regular trading hours gap. But this is one big power of 3 here. So this is why I didn't take a broad short yet, because I'm not convinced that that was it for the market. I think the market in the next few days can continue to go up. Can you repeat the information again? No, you can easily rewind the stream, bro. You can easily just rewind the stream. Plus, you can watch it later. Yeah, I'm looking for a spot to potentially go long. I'm just monitoring the S&P here. Look at this idiot. The point of a live stream is that we're here for live information. I think it's reasonable to ask you to repeat the info. Dude, I went over like 10 to 15 minutes of information. I'm not going to repeat 10 to 15 minutes of information when you can easily go back, rewind the stream, take notes on what I said, try to implement it, etc. You can just rewind the trade. You're here to not for me to repeat information. You're here to watch me trade live and cover the news live, which we already did. Don't be a clown, bro. Fucking male Karen over here.
The point of the live stream is that we're here for live. I think it's reasonable to ask you to repeat the info.
That way we don't have to rewind it. This motherfucker probably talks like that in his yoga class.
Can you repeat the pose again? I don't think I quite got it. Instructor, I don't think that it's unreasonable for me to ask you to repeat the pose again. I didn't get it right.
Shut the fuck up, bro. out here making demands like I work for his dad or something. All right, so ES, peep this, guys. ES closed above that 15-minute. This looks, honestly, this looks like we might be giving back all the red today. I don't know that we turn green per se, because it is certainly possible. I mean, we're only 1.5% down on NASDAQ. 1.3% down on ES, 1% down on the Dow. It's certainly possible. Radical theology, you're funny, dude. I would like to speak to the manager of this channel. Why you guys got to do me like that? I'm trying to trade. It's surprising that I make any money on these streams, considering how funny they get. All right, so we are 20 minutes away from the 1050 macro. Sarah says his real name must be Shiloh. Dude, we got some stand-up comedians in here. All right. Hang on. Castor, are you still in your long? Ooh. Mizzo, what's going on? Yeah, if gold closes below this order block, which is very likely, wait, do we have news just now? No, Trump speaks. Oh, he talks at 8. Okay. So I think we'll get a reaction on gold from here. And then I'll probably look to take it short back down to low of the day. That's what I'm looking on gold. So I think we'll get a reaction off this, which I can already tell is the golden pocket, just because I can eyeball the Fibonacci pretty well. Yeah. Golden pocket will likely get a reaction up. And then and then I'll look to likely short from there back down to low of the day. So I think we'll get a reaction. Probably would be awesome if we got a reaction back to midnight. So something like this on gold. Something like that. Yeah, I'll look at Tesla. I'm trying to decide. I think I like the short on gold more. So I'm waiting for this to close, and then I will likely take a short from here. I think we bounce up from here back to that level, 33.14-ish. And I'll look to take something like that. That's on gold. Man, NQ is so much stronger than ES. NQ made a higher high. ES made a lower high. Not great. We need to bounce out of here and clear this high if there's a chance for the indices to keep going up. Otherwise, it might be brutal. But I'm thinking that this right here is the liquidity for the day. Now, over the course of the coming days, here's what I'm looking for. Over the course of the coming days, I'm looking for NQ and or ES to take out that high from April 2nd. So remember, April 2nd was the Liberation Day gap. So I'm waiting for that high to be breached. And then at this level, I will likely take a short down to at least fill the gap from April 22nd. At least. But that's assuming that, you know, over the coming days, we don't fill it before touching that high. But the minute we touch that high, then I would likely look for a short down. Do you only trade options? I trade futures, options, and then shares for the long term. Yeah. Someone asked me about Tesla, so let me go ahead and respect that. But as I was saying in the Discord when I did my Tesla analysis, the fact that Tesla swept the March high like this, but didn't close above. So if we had a candle close above the March high, right? So if we close like this, above the March high, that would indicate a potential break of structure. The fact that we just wicked above it, that's buy-side liquidity, not great. The next thing that I want to see from Tesla here, I don't think there's a play just yet, but the next thing that I want to see from Tesla here is a bounce from here to break that high at 291. If we don't get that, then I think Tesla goes back to the bottom of this range. But there is no trade here on Tesla. Right? I guess if you really wanted to front run along, you can long it from here. Right? In hopes that it breaks out of this. Not my favorite trade. But currently that's where Tesla's sitting. Honestly, it's not great that we do have a potential weekly head and shoulders. And that's why I really wanted to break out of this, because if we broke out of here, it would invalidate this head and shoulders. But right now, it's not invalidated just yet. So, in my opinion, who's this annoying bastard? So, in my opinion, we need to reject from this daily fair value gap to the upside and break above this high. Otherwise, this head and shoulders is not yet avoidable. Very nice. We need to get above this high on ES, and then I think it's smooth sailing for the day in terms of longs. This high right here, we need to get above, and then I think it's smooth sailing for longs. So, gotta be patient here. Already up a good 1,000 from gold. We are bouncing from here like I thought. I cannot short from that level. I would need to get up to at least the 0.5 to take a short from here. Guys, leave a thumbs up if this analysis is helpful. I'm calling out all the moves for you guys. Leave a thumbs up. What the hell? Alex Melendez, you look like Bruno Mars from Temu. Guys, do we really gotta waste our time? Does this guy really want to fuck with me? I look like Bruno Mars from Temu? All right, let's look up Alex Melendez while we wait for gold to get up there. This is Alex Melendez. This is the motherfucker who's trying to roast me here? Bro, I look like Bruno Mars from Temu. You look like fucking George Lopez from Shine, bro. Look at this shit. Your whole outfit comes from Temu. Carrying his mom's wine bottle right here, bro. You know she yelled at you when you took this picture. He went and grabbed his mom's wine bottle from the cellar for this picture. And she was like, Alex, what happened to my wine? I was planning on drinking that tonight. Mom, sorry, I just wanted to take a photo. Motherfucking George Lopez looking ass motherfucker. Do you think that this guy trades? Honestly. Like, what is he doing watching the channel? Bro, you look like you work at Senor Frogs in Cancun. Why are you watching a trading channel? Go back to Senor Frogs, bro. Assistant manager of Senor Frogs in Cancun. Working his way up to manager. The fuck? Fucking George Lopez looking ass motherfucker. All right, I'm going to set an alert here on gold because this is really the level that I want to take an optimal short from. I still think we can bounce out of this fair value gap. So I'm going to set an alert at 33.13 on gold for a potential short back down to lows of the day, 32.75, 32.76-ish at that level. Still not out of the woods here. I'm going to set an alert on ES at 55.1750. If we can get above that, then I think longs are good for the rest of the day until we at least get to the data highs of 830, because that is when GDP was released. So you can call this GDP high. I'm giving you guys the game plan for today in case you have to sign off or something. So if we can get above on ES 55.17, then I think it's smooth sailing to at least GDP high. One thing that is interesting too is I don't believe we took London high. Yeah, we did not take London high. So that's still unresolved. Let me look at yeah, NQ or ES did not take London high. As a matter of fact, we PO3'd straight from London high. So I just need ES to get above that to resolve the bearish divergence. I'm not comfortable taking a long yet for the rest of the day without that happening. And I need gold to get up to at least here before taking a short. So that's what I'm looking at for today. Like I said, this play on Google still valid for me. We're still sitting at the trend line. So I personally have to hold it. I don't think Tesla, I think you can front run a risky long on Tesla here, not for today, but I mean for multiple days from this level. That is a breaker technically. You can front run a long here if you wanted to, but just be prepared with your stops and make sure that your risk is managed. I personally am not going to. I would like to see Tesla break out of this daily fair value gap and then maybe retest this level of resistance as support. I think that would be an A+ long on Tesla. Break and retest. So that's what I'm waiting on. Is it Stacy? I wonder if we want to go up there or if midnight is enough. Could have scalped that long too to get to that level, since I thought we'd get a reaction from there. For those of you that always ask me what is my scalping strategy, it's really just using these concepts. So knowing that we'll likely get a bounce from here and not expecting it to go broad, right? So taking a long from here and closing it at this 5-minute fair value gap where midnight is. That's the example of a scalp that I would take. Do you have a pre-market routine like breath work or stretch? I definitely stretch, but it has nothing to do with the markets. I stretch because I like to play sports and I'm old, so I have to stretch twice a day at least. So I do a stretching routine in the morning and then a stretching routine by midday before my workout. And if I'm feeling really industrious, then I'll do one before bed. But I'll do it twice a day. But it has nothing to do with trading. No. But I do go outside. I do make a habit to go outside in the morning without my phone. So I leave the phone inside, go outside, take some cold water or coffee or both, and just go outside with my thoughts for like 10, 15 minutes. If I don't do that, the day kind of feels enclosed on me, like it feels unnatural. But again, I don't equate it with something that I do for trading. It's healthy. I guess it's healthy for trading, but All right, let me see what the dollar is doing real quick. If the dollar is tanking, gonna be hard to take a gold short because they move inverse. So the dollar has to be bullish for me to take a gold short. Haven't yet pulled the trigger here, guys. Yeah, dollar's dropping. So I cannot short gold here. This is not good for a gold short. Gold will probably go long here. Yep. We'll have to revisit this at some point. Still waiting for ES to get above this. We need to close above this level before looking for broad longs for the rest of the day. Will I be live tomorrow? Trump doesn't speak at 4. He speaks at 8. Any fun plans coming up? I'm going to New York this weekend. That's always fun. Will I go live tomorrow? I mean, I'll be live in the Discord, that's for sure. Will I be live on YouTube? Maybe not. Possible Friday, because unemployment rate is Friday, but maybe not tomorrow. Go hard, Greg. That's a great question. And I'll answer you in a second. The weather's still good, Sarah? You guys have had a streak of good weather. You've had a blessed early spring so far. I was just out there for a month. And it was during that time where it's like still uncomfortably cold with a few nice days sprinkled in. But I think you guys have had some nice days recently. ES is the S&P 500 and NQ is NASDAQ. Okay. Nice push by ES here. I don't want to see a wick though. I want it to close above. Why do they say sell and man go away? I have no idea. It's quite stupid, actually. I did in my market analysis write-up in the Discord yesterday. I posted this, but May has actually been pretty positive. Ironically, the last May that was severely red in the last 10 years was 2019, coming out of the first Trump trade war. Yeah, but certainly I will say May through October is generally a bearish time. But May in and of itself, okay, let me see something here. So I wonder if the dollar finds a base here. That might still set up for a gold short. Come on, ES. If ES closes above this, like I said, I think it's inevitable that we get to the GDP high at least, if not by end of day London high. Yeah, I wonder if the dollar finds a base here. There's a low risk short on gold. So the 1 minute, you can take it from here. It's a bit risky. I'm already up 1,000 on the day. I might take this riskier short here. We don't have confirmation on anything above the 1 minute. Yeah, this is banking on the fact that taking London high was the high of the day. And that we have a potential sell model here. One second, I'll be right back. 1 second. Who else is buying SMCI, Starbucks, Snap? Oh, I haven't even looked at that. You are not old? What is that in response to? Who's Kirsten mentioned above? We have 2 people working in the Discord, aside from me, Kirsten and Justin. How old? How old do you think I am? I don't know. Who brought up, why did someone bring that up? I'm not sure. Ah, that long worked. Wow, perfect exit too. Shit. I mean that short, sorry, not long. You said you were old? I am old. 39, 25, 35, 23. Come on, not 23. And not 25. Y'all are crazy. 50? Your mom's fucking 50, bro. What you mean 50? Too much hair? What, you can be old and have hair, bro. Oh, very nice recovery on ES. He said he graduated university after the dot-com bubble. This be true. I did. Especially if you're Middle Eastern. What, hair? I don't know. Are there a lot? I think there's a lot of bald Middle Eastern guys, isn't there? Kasra, I imagine your name is Persian. That sounds like an Iranian name, Kasra. I think there's a lot of bald Iranian men. I'm not Iranian, but I think there's a lot of bald Iranian men for sure. My job is to literally glue hair on bald guys. Are you Middle Eastern or African? Yeah, I don't look Persian. I think North African is a better guess than Persian. That's for sure. I think Persians are a little on the brighter side. At least the ones here in the US. Because I've seen some Iranians in the Middle East that for sure are brown. No, I'm not saying I'm Moroccan, but I'm saying it's a better guess than Persian. That's all I'm saying. Guys, let's talk about Tesla. Tesla is life. That might be the gayest comment I've ever seen on a live stream, not gonna lie. All right, here's what's going to happen. Algerian, if he speaks French, why? Lebanese people speak French too, bro. I look like I'm from the same family as Bad Bunny. Poof. How does this fool look? Is that him? This is Bad Bunny? Okay. Yeah, I guess if we were like at a family reunion and this motherfucker popped up, I'm sure. I guess we can look related. He better not show up looking like this, though, to the family reunion, or like this. But if he showed up looking like this, I can see it. It's not a stretch. It's not a stretch. I think now that we're out of the woods here, I think there's a long to GDP high off of this 15-minute. Like that. You can take it with SPY calls if you want it. I personally hate day trading options. I don't mind swing trading options. I personally hate day trading options. Yeah. I'm not Iranian, bro. I don't even look Iranian. Iranians are super white. Most of the ones here. Priscilla Gonzalez says Palestinians look Puerto Rican. So yeah, it fits my guess. Yeah, I think Palestinians look more Puerto Rican than Iranian. That's for sure. This is what I'm looking at for long on S&P. In terms of earnings, let me see something real quick. I have a whole video on how to trade futures, bro. Just Google how to trade futures. Let me see if I even come up. How to trade futures. Who in the fuck is this? Right there. Oh shit, that video now has 211,000 views. Nice. Much shorter hair back then. Google how to trade futures and watch that. How tall are you sitting in the chair? What the fuck kind of questions are these? I don't know. You want me to measure from the floor to my head while sitting on the chair? Is that some kind of kink? So Meta is reporting earnings. I'm not going to be trading Meta earnings because if you look here, 50% of the time, Meta doesn't beat the expected move. So I can't trade a 50-50 on earnings. So for my rules, in order to trade earnings, I would need the stock to meet the expected move most of the time or beat the expected move most of the time. And no, it's not pricing in a huge move. I disagree. 7.6%, which is on the lower end compared to some of the previous ones, right? Like it was pricing in a 9% move here, pricing in a 9% move here, pricing in a 9% move here, 9% move here. Right now, it's only pricing in a 7.5% move. So relatively not that big, but if you look at the last 3 earnings, it missed the expected move. And if you look at the last 12 earnings, it's 50-50. So I can't trade Meta. Let's look at Microsoft. Microsoft beats the expected, misses the expected move most of the time, but it's still 58%. So the last 2 earnings definitely beat the expected move. And right now it's expected at 4.5%. That might be an interesting play. But the thing is, you cannot buy a strangle here. Because if you look at the VIX, the VIX currently is up today. And if you buy strangle and the VIX drops, your strangle is going to take a hit even if you're right. So the only trades that I'll play are ones where the stock doesn't beat the expected move most of the time, and you're better off selling an iron condor into that, right? So let's look at Apple real quick because they report tomorrow. Okay, so Apple misses the expected move most of the time. So you can see here, 67% of the time, Apple misses the expected move. And you can see the last, out of the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 out of the last 6 earnings, Apple missed the expected move. So this is an example of the type of trade that I would take for earnings. And if you look at its IV, currently IV rank, IV 30 rank, meaning the last 30 days of volatility, 94%. So its IV is elevated, which is what you want if you're selling options. Misses the expected move most of the time, and the VIX is up. So if we get a VIX drop, that's also going to help your iron condor. So I would look at, for Apple, let's see, the expected move is, whoa, it's pricing in a huge expected move, probably because of tariffs. We're seeing a lot of outsized bets here. So they report when? Tomorrow? Yeah, they report tomorrow. So the expected move is plus minus 4.6%, which is around $8.50. So if I pull up the Apple's earnings call, will be interesting. Yeah, they're not going to give guidance though. So it's around $8.50. Would I take Friday's expiration? Yeah, maybe. Let's see. If it pays well, then I would consider taking this. So if we sell the 220 call and buy the 225 call, and then we go to the put side, and we sell the 202.50 put and buy the 197.5 put. Wow. That is horrible. We are not getting any money for this. $1.66 out of $5. Cannot take this trade on Apple. What if we did the 217.50 call and sold the 222.5 call? What? Oh, shit. I have that backwards. My bad. So that gives us $2 out of 5 for a 25 delta. Not quite a 25 delta. 27-ish delta iron Condor. You could do this. Your max loss would be $3. Your max gain would be $2. And you would need Apple to stay between 202.50 and 217.50. Right now, Apple's trading at 210. So if it stays between 202.50 and 217.50, you would make almost 100% of this by Friday. And they report tomorrow. So if you open it today, you're going to get more credit than if you open it tomorrow. because you're going to be selling into one more day of theta. If you sell it tomorrow, you're going to get less than $2 for sure. If you sell it today, you'll get $2. And if Apple on Friday is between 202.50 and 217.50, then you will keep the $2. If Apple is below 202.50 or above 217.50, then you're going to start eating into losses. And if it's above 222.5 or below 197.5, then you'll lose $3. That's a max loss because it's a $5 wide iron condor and you're getting $2 for it. Crazy risk. That's not, no, your risk is capped, fool. What do you mean crazy risk? This fool says, you look like President Xi. Your mom's bush looks like Kim Jong-il's hair, bro. Come on. I look like President Xi. So that's the Apple idea right there. Screenshot this if you want, or you can rewind the tape. But selling an iron condor into Apple is okay. It's not like amazing, but it's all right. Amazon's the last one I want to look at. What are your thoughts on leverage ETF 2X or 3X? They exist. What do you mean, what are my thoughts on it? They're there. I don't have particular thoughts on it. And Amazon is too much of a 50-50 too. 58% of the time it misses the expected move, but it means 42% of the time it beats. The only one out of those Mag 7 that I think is worth trading is Apple. Ooh, Dixie with the rally. I think a gold short is still on the table for later in the day. Give us the retracement. Tesla, I went over it already, bro. But I think Apple's the only one worth trading into earnings out of the four. What other earnings are coming up? Let me see. I mean, if you guys want to trade with me live every day, click the link in the description. If you want access to all of my insights and stock market reports in real time, no Meta. I went over Meta, bro. I just went over Meta. Robinhood might be a good one, and Qualcomm as well. Huge move expected for Robinhood, 12%. What about Qualcomm? Trump is speaking? Are you sure? Let me ask the Discord. I don't trust none of y'all's. All right, the Discord says yes. I trust the Discord. This guy's amazing. Is it? We can watch this together. Let's see.
Our country. We're up to close to $8 trillion, I think I can say. And really, it's going to be the ones that we know about. 8 trillion. I'm not going to say, but I'm not sure if Biden 8 trillion. I'm not going to say, but I'm not sure if Biden did $1 trillion for 4 years, 1 trillion. But we're at 8 trillion for 2 months, because let's give us a pass on the first month. We were sort of getting a little bit used to things, right? But after 2 months, we have $8 trillion. There's never been a number like that. And that includes chip companies, car companies, every form of manufacturing, high-tech companies. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. So $8 trillion. I can talk about gross domestic product, gross domestic investment. I can talk about a lot of things, but to me, the biggest numbers, the kind of numbers that are, and these people are coming in. Our Secretary of Commerce spent the weekend. He went down to Arizona to see what was happening with the biggest chip company in the world. And he said, Howard, you said, you've never seen anything like it.
Amazing.
You want to just describe what you saw?
So they're investing $165 billion in 1,100 acres in Arizona, and they're building the highest tech chip manufacturing, semiconductors, and 4,000 employees. You know, American tradecraft, right? Technicians doing every kind of work. The classic foundation of America is building it. They had 14,000 people. They're expecting 40,000 people to build the rest of their plants and to employ 20,000 people for the rest of the time.
And
This is all driven.
You never saw a site like that.
And this is all driven by your tariff policies. No chance this be happening without you.
It's going to be about 40% of the chip market from that one section. And this is the biggest chip maker. They have 99% of the market. They come from Taiwan. And unlike the CHIP Act, which was done by Biden, where they hand everybody billions of dollars, the thing they don't need is money. They got plenty of money. What they need is an incentive to come in. And the tariffs, they're building because of the tariffs. Without the tariffs, and I like to say they're building because of November 5th, the election, and the tariffs. But I'm going to be a little more blunt. They're building because of the tariffs, and November 5th gave them the tariffs. So it's amazing when you look. And these are not companies that go out and say, well, we're going to build, we have to go get our financing. Let's go. Like we would, in New York, everybody would look, you get a building site, and then you'd look around for money, you'd look around for financing for 6 months, you'd get your financing. you're building, the market would be good, you'd make money, the market would be bad, it wouldn't be so pretty, you'd have to negotiate, blah, blah, blah. This is different. These people have so much money, they don't know what to do. I asked Howard, did they finance it? No, they do it through cash. And they say that site, and they just started, they just announced it like a month ago, and they've already started. He said, I've never seen a site like it, so big. So, you're talking about essentially a $50 billion building. Now, if you build a warehouse for $50 million, that's a big warehouse, Scott. But a $50 billion building, that's a lot. They're building the electric, they've become a utility. And I'm giving them the right to become. They're going to build their own electric. They're going to build their own electricity, which they need tremendous amounts of electricity. They're going to build it themselves. Anything they have left over, they'll hook that into the grid. But the grid is old and they're unreliable and bad things can happen to grids. I said, if you want, you can hook into the grid, but that's a little bit risky. Or you can build your own electricity and become your own utility. And they, I think in all cases, are deciding to do that. So it's very exciting, and we have a lot of things going. We took over on January 20th. These are quarterly reports. We took over on January 20th. The tariffs haven't kicked in yet. I know that, and I don't want this to happen, but I know that China is doing very poorly right now. I just saw some reports coming out, and I don't want that to happen to China. I like the president a lot, President Xi. I don't want it to happen. I was actually saddened to hear it, but they are getting absolutely hammered in China. And, they're sending boats, the biggest boats in the world, carrying cargo like nobody's ever seen before. These are the biggest boats in the world, biggest cargo ships in the world. And they're coming and they're turning around in the Pacific Ocean. They're doing a big U-turn and going back because they don't want the goods, because 145% tariff. But at a certain point, I hope we're going to make a deal with China. We're talking to China, but their factories are closing all over China because we're not taking their product. We don't want their product unless they're going to be fair with us. And that includes intellectual property and other things. There are a lot of things far beyond just buy, sell. So we'll see what happens. But, I was not, because somebody said, well, were you happy? I said, I am not happy. I want China to do well. I want every country to do well. But they have to treat us fairly also. So with that, I think we're going to maybe go around, and we have some letters where the secretaries and people around the table are making statements about how they're doing and what's happening. And I could start with Pete on the left because he's my least controversial person at the moment. No, they don't know how good he is. So we'll go around the table and you can hear it. And these are cabinet meetings where they're very open and transparent. And I can guarantee you Biden didn't do this. He didn't do this. Go ahead, Pete.
Well, Mr. President, I think we're controversial because we're over the target. And like so many things, Mr. President, you inherited a demoralized military that couldn't recruit, that was perceived as weak after what happened in Afghanistan and elsewhere because of Joe Biden. And what we have seen since your election and the inauguration has been nothing short of a recruiting renaissance. Decades, it hasn't been decades since we've seen this kind of recruiting in the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force. The men and women of America want to join the United States military led by President Donald Trump.
And the police, by the way.
Absolutely.
And fire. I always mention the fire, but the police and fire. But the police and fire likewise they have waiting lists now. And 6 months ago was a disaster.
Truly historic. We can barely absorb the volume and retention as well. Men and women in the military who don't want to get out now that they have a real commander-in-chief. We're reinforcing standards. We're going to be fit, not fat, in our formations. We welcome back all the folks that were forced out because of the COVID mandate. We ripped wokeness out of the military, sir, DEI, trans, and it's Fort Benning and Fort Bragg again at the DOD. We're rebuilding the military, sir. The Golden Dome is well underway. F-47, reassuring allies and deterring enemies. We found nearly $6 billion.
Not really sure what this is. Seems like a suck fest. I was hoping it would be more GDP related, but we are approaching New York lunch. I think For the PM session, as long as we didn't take that GDP high, I think there's still a continuation to take that. So I wonder if we get a retracement during lunch that will give us that. If gold breaks this here, then I think a short is back on the table. Otherwise, we will likely get a... Do I want to short this from here, or do I want to wait? I'm up quite nicely on gold today. Up almost $1,200. Don't want to take a stupid trade here. I think we can get a big trade. I think we can get a big trade if we close below this. And I would much rather take an A+ big trade and protect that capital than try to front run something stupid here and give back $500-600. Are your trading view charts available for us to use? No, I don't use any indicators. So what is besides the colors, what else do you want to take from this? Like everything here, the Fibonacci, the fair value gaps, these are all things that I've drawn myself. So you don't really need a template. Do you have time to answer my earlier question? I don't know, bro. What is your earlier question? I don't know who you are with respect. So ask it again. Jason, appreciate your donation to St. Jude. Thank you so much, Jason. Appreciate it. What are your thoughts on SoFi? Thoughts and prayers. I don't know. Do you have a more specific question besides thoughts? How much did I lose when it went down? What is it? I'm not sure what you're referring to. Jake Cruz. Yeah, I have no idea. What do you mean, it? Is your Discord like this? Only without the chat? I turn off the chat for the Discord lives. We don't even have a chat. That way I can concentrate on trading. With negative GDP report, did you expect the market to be much lower? No. I didn't. As a matter of fact, what I wrote in the Discord this morning is a recovery is more likely, might set up for a reversal. The reason is because of what I outlined here when we first started the stream, that we were consolidating and we manipulated down into a major imbalance, and we still have the Liberation Day highs above as my potential draw on liquidity. So we went down to that 4-hour fair value gap, and I think that over the coming days, we tagged that Liberation Day high. So I did not think we would be down more. No. And here's proof of that. This was 6:21 a.m. West Coast time. So before the market even opened, I said a recovery is more likely. Who do you have in the NBA Finals? I really hope to see Steph in the finals, bro. I'm not from the Bay Area. I'm not a Warriors fan, but would be so awesome if, you know, the older team that everybody writes off, if they get to the finals. I think it'll be really fun to see Steph and Jimmy in the finals. I don't think there's any hope for the Lakers here. They're down 3-1, which is embarrassing, to be honest. But I think it would be fun to see Golden State. And then whoever on the East is boring as shit. But I would say it would be fun if it was the Celtics, maybe. Celtics and Warriors, I think, would be fun. LeBron will be there. Where, in the finals? No, he won't. Bro, I'm from LA, Jake, and I'm telling you, they won't be in the finals. Minnesota would be so fun, but I definitely don't want to see like Minnesota and Cleveland. If it was Minnesota and Boston, oh man, that would be fun as shit. Minnesota and Boston, Minnesota and New York, Golden State and Boston, Golden State and New York. I think that's the four funnest combos, I think. For sure. I don't want to see Detroit or Cleveland or Orlando in the final. Come on. Who wants to see that? Knicks and Celtics finals? That's impossible. They play in the same conference. No, I don't want to see OKC. Do I watch the Champions League? Yes. No, I didn't take a long on S&P yet. Pacers are going to go? I hope not, bro. Nobody wants to see the Pacers or the Magic or the Pistons or the Cavs. Really, the only two on the East that I would want to see is the Knicks or the Celtics versus the Warriors or the Wolves. That's it. Man, what a recovery day. Oh, Magic are eliminated? Oh, you're right. The Celtics beat them. Yeah. That's who the Celtics were playing. You're right. So, yeah, the Knicks are still... The Knicks and Pistons series is still alive. So I believe that's 3-2. All right, so all I'm waiting on now for lunch is to get a retracement down to longness, back to GDP highs. Made a nice check on gold. Not a bad day. Up 1,200. If you want to trade live with me every day, link is in the description below. Hit that up. Otherwise, I'll see the rest of you in the Discord. And if I take this trade, I'll send it out in the Discord. But appreciate you guys. Thank you to all those who donated. Thank you for the laughs. Peace.